Hello, people. This is Mac with Mac Commentary. Also with my guest this morning, Bob. How are you this morning, Bob?
I'm doing fine, Mac. Thank you. How about you?
Doing great. Thanks for asking. We plan to talk today a little bit about the Sudan and what's going on over in that country. But I'd like to first bring people up to date on some things that happened way back right after 9/11. General Wesley Clark. He was a former commander of NATO's forces in Europe. Now, Clark claimed back in, I guess it was in September of 2003, that he met a senior military officer in Washington in November 2001 who told him the Bush administration was planning to attack Iraq first before taking action against Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Iran, Somalia, and Sudan. The general's allegations surface in a new book, The Clark Critique, excerpts from which appear in the latest edition of the U.S. magazine Newsweek back during that time. Clark says after the 11th or 17th September 2001 attack, many Bush administration officials seemed determined to move against Iraq, invoking the idea of state sponsorship of terrorism, even though there was no evidence of Iraqi sponsorship of 9/11 whatsoever. Now, they were saying that Austin Saddam Hussein promised concrete, visible action, the general writes, dismissing it as a Cold War approach. Clark criticizes the plan to attack the 7 states, saying it targeted the wrong countries, ignoring the real sources of terrorists, and failed to achieve the greater force of international law that would bring wider global support. He also condemned George Bush's notorious axis of evil speech made during the 2002 State of the Union address. There were no obvious connection between Iraq, Iran, and North Korea, says Clark. But the whole key right here, Bob, is what he's talking about is that there's been a plan to take action or to destroy Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Iran, Somalia, and Sudan, where we know that Syria, Libya, and Iraq have been destroyed, as well as Lebanon, and Somalia, to a certain extent, been disrupted, and Sudan has been is definitely in a major conflict right now, and the U.S. Government, Blinken is over there, I believe. He's supporting one of the factions over there. I don't know which one he is, but they have a big hand in that, and they had also a hand in breaking up the Sudan into 2 nations, Sudan and South Sudan. And, to give a little clarity to this, I mean, the Sudan people have been around for a long time, and Sudan is the largest country in Africa, more than 1/4 the size of the United States, and borders 9 other countries, including Egypt, Chad, Kenya, and Ethiopia. Khartoum is the capital of Sudan, and it sits where the White Nile and the Blue Nile join together as the Nile and flow north to Egypt and into the Mediterranean. The name was derived from an Arabic pronunciation, which means land of the blacks. Now, Sudan has an estimated population of 39 million, 52% of which are black and 39% Arab. Arabic is the official language, and the government has attempted to impose Islamic Sharia law since 1983. and 70% of the population is Muslim. Now, Bob, I mean, for all practical purposes, Sudan is a black country, and it's been like that for centuries. Matter of fact, it may very well have been the start of they flowed, the people moved from the Sudan, the Kemetes, I believe, probably up to Egypt, but I'm not going to go into all of that historical data. But what do you see is going on now as to what we've talked about here that was outlined as far as what the countries that the U.S. said that they would destroy, that they would attack, and the ones that they've already attacked, and now they are working on Sudan. How do you see this, Bob, as playing out here in these United States?
Well, back, if you look at those 7 countries that General Clark identified back in 2001, that general told him America planned to take out over 5 years, which would have brought us up to 2006. Now we're in 2023. If you look at those 7 countries, none of them have nuclear weapons. At the time, Libya did. But Libya, Gaddafi let the people convince him that he didn't need them. So he gave up his nuclear weapons. So none of those countries had nuclear weapons, and none of them have nuclear weapons today. And those 2 factions that are fighting over there in Sudan right now, are the one guy was the deputy general of the other guy, and so they're fighting a war of I don't know how to describe it, but my point is this: America knows how to entice and convince and persuade people like those 2 generals that, look, if you will do this to him, this is what we'll give you. And that's what they've been doing. And it's a part of America's modus operandi. That's the way America operates and has operated since the days of the Wild Wild West up until 2023. It's how they did the same thing with the indigenous people here in America, the so-called Indian. They did it with the Mexicans, and they're doing it now in Africa. And what's going to happen, I think, is you're going to see, because these people don't have nuclear weapons, you're going to see America just move right in there using some of their proxies. Like they'll probably use Egyptian forces to go in there and help the general that they want to take control of that country, and overthrow, because the war is not going to last that long. I mean, and furthermore, they don't care how many of those blacks they kill over there. I think you said that, I forget the population you quoted, but if they kill half the population, say, 5 or 10 million people, that doesn't make them any. That doesn't make America any. America's not concerned about that. Those people are blacks. They're Negroid. They're not Caucasoid. So they don't care whether they kill them or not. Look at what they just did in Afghanistan, or in Iraq. They killed 1 million people over there, over 1 million.
Well, Bob,
as long as you're a Caucasoid, you're okay.
well, what you're saying there, Bob, is goes back to like you look at Iraqi right there. They had a lot of oil there. Now, a lot of people don't like to. They make it seem like that. Oh, this is just something that started between 2 factions there, 2 generals or 2. They said there's one general, I can't recall his name there, but I believe he built up a powerful army to compete against the Dagalo, Muhammad Hamdan Dagalo. He's the RSF, who is well, he's the one that built up that army, but he's generally known by the name Hemeti, and he has worked alongside the Sudanese army to help keep the military in power. But this guy who built up such a powerful force there to go against the Sudanese army, and which is this other army is a paramilitary group known as the RSF, which this guy Hemeti leads. Now, how did he build? The question comes to mind. First of all, how did he build up that force like that? With where did he get the weapons from? Where did he get the finances from in order to do that? Now we go back and we look at some of the situation, history, location of Sudan. They say although much of Sudan's land is made up of plains and deserts, it has large areas of arable land as farming area, significant gold deposits, and massive oil reserves. Agriculture production such as cotton and peanuts cultivation employs 80% of the workforce and contributes 39% of the gross domestic product. Sudan is one of the poorest countries in the world. Annual per capita income in 2001 was $340. Now, you would think that when you got massive oil reserves like the Saudis, like Iraqi had, it still has, but now it's not in the Iraqis' hands anymore. It's controlled mainly by the U.S. government. And when you've got this type of massive and gold, why would you have people there on an income of $340 a year when you have all this wealth in that particular country? But this is endemic throughout Africa and all the countries. They pretty much like that. So how do you look at that, Bob? Do you see someone controlling this for the same as they've always done, to go in and rape and take the resources and give nothing back to the people there in Africa?
Well, uh, it's pretty clear to me that if they've got all that wealth that hasn't been exploited yet, then and with the dollar losing its value here domestically, and people asking, well, what are we gonna back the dollar with? And we need gold. And if Sudan has got gold, it said, well, we've about exploited all the gold here in America that we could exploit. Let's get the gold over there. Let's get the oil over there. And you reminded me of something as you were speaking. You got to go all the way back to the Shah of Iran. When he was the Shah, the head of the king of Iran, he turned over his oil deposits pretty much to the United States, and I think that may have been the same kind of deal that was cut with that army force that performed the coup that overthrew the head of Sudan. I think a year or so ago, when they performed that coup d'état. That guy that was the head at the time, he didn't just want to turn over his wealth to the United States, so they said, well, we'll kick him out, and that's what they did. And these two generals that are fighting now, they're fighting among each other because I imagine uh, the American government offered one of them probably a little bit more money than the other one, and he found out about it, so they start a pissing contest among each other, and the people of Sudan will suffer, and that's the way the world works.
Yeah.
If you're the biggest kid on the block, you could kick everybody else around because they don't have the tools to defend themselves. And that's why you don't see America kicking China around like that, because China has the tools to defend itself. You don't see America kicking Pakistan around like that because Pakistan has the tools to defend itself. You don't see America kicking India around, and there are different other reasons. But the main thing is that those countries have nuclear weapons. You don't see America kicking Russia around like that. But all these black countries that don't have anything, and like you say, they have a per capita income of $340. That's less than $1 a day, man. What could you do with $1 a day? I mean, if your listening audience would just think about it, if all they had to live on was $1 a day, and you're black here in America, what could you do with it? You can't even buy a bottle of wine today for $1, man. You
Well,
know.
well, the cost of
So
living is
when you,
substantially less over there, that's for sure. But
that's right.
mm,
So when you put all this stuff into context and look at it, you see how diabolical, how deceitful, how evil this place is and continues to be on April 19th, 2023. They don't give a damn about those black people over there, just like they don't give a damn about black people in America. Until we see that as a race of people globally, the Negroid is going to continue to catch hell. Malcolm said it years ago. You don't catch hell because you're a Baptist. You don't catch hell because you're a Methodist. You don't catch hell because you're a Catholic. And you sure as hell don't catch hell because you're an American. Because if you was an American, you wouldn't catch no hell. You
amen.
know? And those people over there in Sudan, they catching hell because they black. And
That's
the and the and the Caucasoid that has the ability with all of the nuclear weapons at his disposal, he knows he could go all over the world wherever he wants to go, and force his will upon people. But that's coming to an end, man. It's coming to an end real quickly, Mike. You keep your eye on it. And Sudan may be the point in Africa where we as Africans, so-called African Americans, wake up. Because they're going to have to kill a lot of Sudanese. They're going to have to kill 3 or 4 million people over there before this thing ends, I think.
yeah.
I think it's going to be mega deaths. And I think people over here are going to get upset. Why are they killing all those black people? See, the news media hasn't even picked up on the fact of the point that you made at the very outset. This could have been the first black nation on the planet, and
Oh,
black people were dispersed. The diaspora of blacks all over the world came from the Sudan,
oh yeah.
and so if that's true, and they're just over there killing blacks, uh, willy nilly because they're trying to get the gold and the oil. Uh, that's not going to set well with a lot of people. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that the CIA has instigated many coups d'etats over in Africa. They have killed uh, leaders over there, such as Labumba and uh, and others in that they have killed that has risen up and called for African unity, as Gaddafi. You know, he was one preaching that, and so they're gonna they're gonna continue with their diabolical schemes, as you state, to keep the people down over there and take the resources as they can. And that's why they are having a problem now. And they pushing for this uh, aggressive civil war there in Sudan, so they can get their puppet on top there, because China's now going over there. And even though China may have, a lot of people may feel that China abuses or do things, take advantage, they are neo-colonialism or whatever. But one of the things I can see, and I think many Africans see this, is that since the Chinese have been coming there, they actually see infrastructure going up. They actually see jobs going up. And I understand that the Chinese built in 3 or 4 days thousands of. They brought all of these skilled trade people with the help of the Africans as well, and they built thousands of homes over there for the homeless people. And I have to find out which country that was. Someone told me this here a few weeks ago, and they've had war going on over there, civil war in the Sudan since 1983. And they say more than 4 million people have been displaced. As long as they can keep division, I mean, why would there need to be a South Sudan and a North Sudan? Or rather, just regular Sudan. Why did that need to be two countries like that? Somebody came over there and did that, the same as they did in 1884 when they met in the Berlin Conference, when they divided up indiscriminately all the different countries that we now know as countries in Africa, of the 54 countries, that they literally, the Europeans sat down and divided the continent up. And they took what each one country, France took a portion. Uh, Only somebody that didn't take anything was the USA. But in recent and subsequent years, the US did become involved over there to exert their uh, power, world power, so to speak, and get their share of the natural resources from there, that the other countries did not have the military power to do so. So we are really, Bob, I think we are really into another phase of history, as you state, that it will come to an end. It's not gonna end well, I believe, for the US, because I don't think China is going anywhere away from Africa. They making some big investments over there that's helping a lot of people over there. And like I said, I'm not here supporting China, but I can see from what I see and from what other people that see, they've got their faults, but that's where the Africans have to come in and make sure that they have the correct contracts in place when they deal with, whether it's China or the US or whoever. But I don't think it's going to be business as usual on that continent anymore, Bob.
And one thing that I look at, and probably some of your audience might say, "Oh, he's just a racist." But the one thing I look back at history, and I look at the fact that for uh, throughout history, there have been one people to assert themselves uh, by virtue of the color of their skin. That's never going to change. If you look back over history, you'll see where I don't care if you were a Roman, if you're an Egyptian, if you're a Negro or whatever, you always felt like you were a better person uh, uh, because of the color of your skin, because you were lighter complected. The lighter Negroes thought they were better than darker Negroes. That's been true throughout history. And why is that? Because the Caucasoid race of people have always asserted themselves as the highest on the totem pole. And so as a result, today you see it manifest itself throughout the world. Now, why am I bringing that up? China is a country of Mongoloids. They're people of color. They're not Caucasoids. They're not Negroids, but they are a people of color. And I think that they, because of the fact that they are a race of color, they will treat another race of color on a much more equal basis, because they don't the color of their skin has not been factored into their relationship with another human being. But that has always been the status of humanity in the world, because the Caucasoid has always felt that he was better than any of the other races of people on the planet, whether they be Mongoloid or Negroid or Neanderthal. He was always the top dog. And I think that's one of the reasons that the Africans have been so receptive of the Chinese. We were talking the other day about relationships, and I got to thinking about that. I have not ever had a real strong relationship with any Oriental people or Mongoloid people or Chinese people, however you want to brand them. But every time I have had a relationship or come in contact with, they've always been cordial, and they've always been seemingly on a one-to-one basis. They treated me like I treated them. As I look back over my life and my relationship with Caucasoid people, my relationship with them has always been, and not so much now, but as I look back from the time I was a little boy up until adult, it was always one of you're inferior to me. You know,
Right.
Caucasoids have always looked down upon uh, uh, me, and I'm not a dark complected brother. You know, and I could see how they treated me as a lighter complected brother in relationship to some of the brothers that I used to hang out with that were darker complected to me, and see how the Caucasoid treated them. So all of these thoughts have been kind of swirling in my mind over the last many years of my life. And I think, well, that's the basis on which this world is ruled.
Well,
The rule of the mighty white man.
well, you're right.
But it's coming to an end, Mac.
Wait, well, you say that, and I kind of agree with you. But I also noticed that in this country here, I noticed that there was a lot of news media putting out there that there was some type of hate crimes by blacks against Asians. I mean, I just never I just never seen that. I mean, they show a picture of supposedly of some black beating up an Asian. I just never can imagine any blacks going around beating up, and I don't know wholesale scale up, beating up on Chinese or any other Asian person, unless that was some,
Unless unless back they were put up to do that,
yeah,
just like just like they they start these wars with countries.
exactly. It
You
had to be CIA, and then they spread all this stuff. They put it all in the newspapers about black hates Asians, and then the Asian people they start to thinking, oh, they don't like me. But you know what? I have never. I mean, I'm not going to say I never, but in most instances, I ran into a Taiwanese woman the other day at a store, and we had a long conversation about different things that was happening over in Taiwan with China and USA and all of that. And but that was nothing that I got from her where she had any animosity towards me, and I know she didn't feel that I had any towards her.
Yes,
And
yes.
but this is what is happening, Bob, is that they are trying to create a dissension between the black man and the other ethnic groups in this country, and people
Well, think about this.
they
Think
don't
about
realize what's happening.
That's right. If you were only 5% of the population of the world, and you don't have any color in your skin, you would it would be to your betterment. You would think, and that's why I say it goes all the way back to cause some dissension among that 95%. So you try to recruit those that are lighter complected, make them think that you're on the same footing as they are, and I mean that they're on the same footing as you are, and that's what's been going on. I mean, that's just my thought. I mean, I may be completely off the wall, Matt.
Well, Bob, that's what we are. This is open door. That's your opinion, and you're expressing your opinion, and that's what we can look to. No one can stop you from having your opinions. That this free country. That's the First Amendment. Your right to that. So go ahead and say whatever you want to. But
Well, and I tell you this, what I'm telling you is what I feel in my heart, man. Because I don't have any animosity toward any human beings. I mean, I think that we're all children of a God of my understanding who loves us all, or he would not have given himself up on the cross because he knew how bad uh, we as a human are. So I don't have any animosity, any hostility towards any race. But when I see the kind of nonsense that I see going on, I'm gonna tell it like I see it. And if it's a wrong opinion or wrong something wrong, I want the other person to tell me what they see that's wrong with what I'm saying. You know, and I think you're absolutely right. I have a right to my opinion, just as anybody has a right to their own. But it doesn't mean that I have to pull out a gun and go shoot them just because we have differing opinions.
right, you're correct, Bob. And that's all. This all goes back to what's happening over there in the Sudan. Probably they want to break up that country. I don't know this for a fact. I'm just hypothesis that they break it up, and then they have the what did they say? There's something like 50% Arabs over there, 50% blacks, and 39% of Arabs. I mean,
Yes.
maybe they want that country to become more Arabic since they are closer to Egypt, which at
Yes,
one
yes,
time they tell me Egypt used to be all black until the Arabs uh,
yes,
came in there, and started to intermarry with the people there. But
yes.
well, Bob, it has been a great and invigorating talk here today, and we're going to continue to watch this situation here in the Sudan here. And I think we should have maybe a part two on this here to get more in depth into the history of the Sudanese and what's been happening over there, and bring it to the people and let them understand what is going on.
Well, back, I certainly would like to do that. And what I'll do is I'll start doing some research on Sudan, and I'll look up some of that history that you started to disclose about how old that country is, and some of the people over there, how it originated. And I'll do as much of that as I can, and try to be much more intelligent about of the circumstance there, because I think you're right. I mean, we've got to stop this diabolical uh, attitude that these people have, the so-called leaders in this country have, about pulling everybody else around on a leash. We're not cattle, and we're not canine to be led around on a rope. We have a right to think, articulate what we think, and if it doesn't agree with what you think, maybe you ought to take a second look at what you think.
Right. You're right on that, Bob. Well, today I might be doing before our next talk, I might be doing a video on the Hebrews, the Black Hebrews, uh,
Oh
with
wow!
with a guest, and maybe that might shine a little light on that as well. I'll let this gentleman by the name of Kevin Arnold come on board with me, and we'll touch on that a little bit. I ask him some questions and see if he could enlighten me on his religion.
Oh yes. Well, I'll look forward to looking in on that video.
Okay, Bob. Well, thanks again, man, for the great commentary today, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon. And people, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. And we enjoy coming back talking to you about different things that's happening here in these United States and the world. Thanks again, Bob.
Thank you, Mac, and have a great day.
All right.